Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're looking at a $2 million philanthropic commitment that, honestly, is a perfect case study in how high-profile giving works now.
It really is.
We've got a stack of sources here, all covering these huge holiday-time donations. And our mission, really, is to get past that big number and understand the why behind it all.
Exactly. I mean, when you see a figure this large from someone this prominent, it's never just about writing a check. What we're really looking at is this fascinating contrast.
Right.
Two separate $1 million gifts, and they're aimed at, well, wildly different challenges, but both are equally critical.
And that's the hook, isn't it? One gift is all about national relief, pure logistics, and the other is completely fueled by a personal family experience.
It's what we call the dual mandate of modern philanthropy. You're addressing these big, sweeping national crises, but you're also honoring something deeply personal.
So let's trace the dollars. We need to figure out where they went and, more importantly, what these choices tell us about how major celebrity giving is, evolving.
Let's do it. We'll unpack both of these strategic choices and really analyze the payoff of picking these huge established national organizations.
Okay, let's start with the first one, the immediate national need. The first $1 million went to fighting hunger. The sources all detail this gift to the big nonprofit, Feeding America, and it's specifically for their network of food banks all across the U.S.
And what's so compelling here isn't just the sheer size of it, it's who they chose. Picking Feeding America is a really sophisticated strategic move.
How so?
Well, because you're leveraging their existing logistical machine. They aren't just one food bank, They're the central hub. They act as this powerful allocator for something like 200 member food banks and 60,000 partner pantries nationwide.
So what you're saying is this isn't about just filling a couple of shelves in one city.
Not at all.
It's like funding the entire highway system that lets all those local pantries get their supplies efficiently.
Precisely. And look, giving $1 million to one local group is, of course, absolutely transformative for them, but it's often tied to very specific, limited programs.
Cool.
A donation of this scale to a national hub like Feeding America, that often translates into something nonprofits are desperate for but really struggle to get.
Which is?
Unrestricted funding.
Unrestricted funding. So that's the money for overhead and infrastructure that nobody really likes to talk about, right?
It is, but it is the absolute lifeblood of any large organization. I mean, this gift can cover the less glamorous but critical stuff.
Like what?
Things like compliance auditing across that whole network, updating essential IT systems, maintaining the cold storage chains for fresh food, or even just general salary support.
The things that keep the lights on and the trucks moving.
Exactly. They are the hardest budgets to fund because, most smaller donors want to fund a specific program, something that sounds exciting, like a particular meal service.
But I have to push back a little on that. I mean, it sounds great, but is it possible that a gift this huge, going to a massive national entity, actually ends up starving smaller local organizations?
Yeah.
The ones that might need the visibility and the money more and who have less bureaucracy.
That is a fair question. It's a critical one, and it's a tension that always comes up in large-scale giving, that pull between scale and locality.
Right.
However, the data really supports the strategic efficiency of scale when you're talking about hunger. Feeding America as a network just operates with incredible financial efficiency because of its size.
Okay.
They can negotiate bulk purchasing prices for staples or secure these massive corporate food donations in a way that no single local pantry ever could. It minimizes waste and maximizes the caloric impact for every dollar spent.
So the $1 million here is less about a giant one-time food drive and more about funding the really sophisticated operational structure that's designed to consistently fight systemic hunger. It's an infrastructure investment.
It's an infrastructure investment that provides stability. It lets them plan for the long term, to scale up programs or pre-buy supplies when prices are low, instead of just reacting to immediate, desperate demand.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So we've established the genius of that nationwide distribution model for an immediate need. But the next $1 million,
Yes.
it proves that not all strategic giving is, cold calculus. This one takes such a sharp turn. It goes from national logistics to a deeply private family experience.
Indeed. We pivot to that second million, which went to the American Heart Association, the AHA. And while, heart disease is undeniably a massive public health crisis,
Of
the
course.
sources are very clear that this specific gift is grounded in a highly personal context.
And the absolute key detail here is that the donation was made in her father's name.
That's the one.
The news reports all connect this directly to her family's public revelation earlier this year about his own personal experience with cardiovascular disease.
And this is just a powerful, almost textbook example of how personal vulnerability can become a catalyst for large-scale public good.
How so?
The AHA donation isn't just funding a general cause. It's advocacy that's driven by a direct emotional connection. It totally shifts the public narrative from, a wealthy person gave money to this family cares deeply about this because it actually affected them personally.
Wow. Yeah, it changes the conversation from a general statistic to a personal story.
Yeah.
I mean, cardiovascular disease can feel like this distant, abstract threat to some people.
Sure.
But when you attach a familiar face, a family struggle, it makes the risk real. It makes it concrete and immediately relatable to millions of people.
Absolutely. And that gives the AHA a strategic benefit that goes way beyond just the cash. $1 million is critical for research, yes, but the celebrity endorsement tied to a personal story like this, it massively amplifies public education about prevention, about early detection.
So you're saying it gets people to actually pay attention?
It encourages millions of young people, maybe for the very first time, to think critically about their own heart health.
And if we compare the two gifts, it's such a fascinating contrast. The first one, to Feeding America, was addressing a crisis that, well, it often hits the most vulnerable parts of society the hardest. But the second, to the AHA, that addresses a health crisis that crosses all socioeconomic lines. And for the donor, it carries this profound personal weight. It's turning private pain into public action.
And that dual nature is crucial to understanding the whole $2 million picture. It shows a strategy that covers both immediate human needs, literally feeding people right now,
Sure.
and supporting the long game against devastating disease by funding cardiovascular research. It's a remarkably balanced philanthropic portfolio.
So for the AHA, how does that capital get deployed? I mean, they could use it for so many things, right? From specific research grants to big public service campaigns.
Given the scale of $1 million check to an organization like the AHA, it's often strategically directed, though maybe not micromanaged. Even though it's in her father's name, the funds would typically support the AHA's overall research mission.
So the big picture stuff.
Exactly. Often earmarked for the most expensive projects, funding new detection technologies, or those long-term longitudinal studies that track patients over many, many years. Those are capital-intensive operations that need sustained funding, which a gift like this helps secure.
So a clear investment in future health outcomes, but driven by a very specific personal experience.
Precisely. It's easy to look at $2 million as just a cold number, but every decision like this is really a reflection of the donor's personal values, often shaped by these really poignant family events.
Okay, let's try to synthesize this whole picture. We've broken down the why and the where for each million. So we have $2 million strategically injected into two massive national nonprofits, each serving a vital but fundamentally different purpose.
And this brings us to the bigger macro trend question. Why this pattern? The sources, they frame it as spreading holiday joy, but strategically, these actions show a real growing maturity in celebrity giving.
What do you mean by that?
Well, we're seeing a clear movement away from, say, highly abstract or overtly political causes toward these very targeted, high-impact humanitarian and personal health initiatives.
That's a great observation. It does feel like personal health advocacy, like talking about a family member's heart condition, is becoming a primary driver for this kind of philanthropy. Maybe even replacing some of the environmental or political causes that dominated headlines a decade ago. Why the personal narrative now?
Because it's the most effective way to engage a mass audience. A personal health crisis is it's universally relatable.
Right. Everyone has a story.
Every single person listening knows someone, a family member, a friend affected by heart disease, or even hunger. That universal resonance, it guarantees not only massive visibility for the organization, but it also inspires what we call the multiplier effect.
Prompting other people to donate.
It prompts thousands of smaller, inspired donations from fans who feel a real connection to that personal struggle.
So the personal connection isn't just about being authentic, it's actually a strategic asset.
It's a strategic asset for amplifying the reach and the fundraising power of the organization getting the money. And let's look at the financial choice itself. Targeting two established leaders like Feeding America and the AHA, that suggests a choice to prioritize proven infrastructure and audited performance.
As opposed to what?
As opposed to, say, funding some novel early-stage research that might have a higher failure rate but maybe a higher long-term return. This giving is safe, dependable, and immediately effective at scale.
That's a really interesting point. Is this type of giving, then, too big transparent checks to establish efficient organizations? Is it a form of risk management for a high-profile donor?
In a way, yes. When you donate to an organization with the compliance standards of the American Heart Association, you know exactly how that money is going to be audited, allocated, and reported publicly. It minimizes the administrative risk.
And it keeps the focus on the act itself.
Exactly. The focus stays on the charitable act, not on managing the performance of some new foundation or a risky startup nonprofit. It's responsible, calculated giving at scale.
And the transparency is key. I mean, the organizations and the reasons for choosing them, combating hunger, honoring her father, were so clearly communicated. That builds public trust in both the donor and the recipients.
Absolutely. And for organizations of this size, this money provides what you could call funding velocity. For Feeding America, it might mean they can immediately pivot operations if a hurricane hits a certain region without disrupting their normal logistics. For the AHA, it could mean accelerating a critical clinical trial that was getting slowed down by funding gaps.
So this $2 million commitment isn't just charity. It's like funding national emergency preparedness and long-term health stabilization.
That is the perfect synthesis. It's a statement that says, we support the basic immediate needs of society, and we support the long-term scientific fight against what affects so many of us personally.
A really comprehensive look. So, to quickly recap the key figures. $1 million to Feeding America, funding that national logistical network to fight systemic hunger. And $1 million to the American Heart Association, powerfully linked to her father's own experience with cardiovascular disease. $2 million, distributed with real purpose and clarity.
And that brings us to our final provocative thought for you to consider. If we acknowledge that these personal connections are often the most powerful drivers of major charitable giving because they create that immediate, relatable urgency, how does knowledge of a major challenge like cardiovascular disease in your own immediate circle prompt you to contribute to these broader national causes? The decision so often starts with an emotional echo right at home before it ever translates into public good.
A great way to frame that tension between private experience and public action. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope this has given you plenty to think about until the next one.